The third week of fall camp. This was the last week of fall camp. They broke from camp this weekend. They had their second scrimmage. Ohio State starts school this week, so the players go back to class. And so no more fall camp. It's going to be regular practice this week. And they'll begin preparation for week one, the trip to Bloomington, Indiana, to take on the Hoosiers next week. So they have one more week of, we'll call it fall practice, not camp, but practice. And then week one preparations. They're already preparing for Indiana. Don't you worry about that. But, Chris, I know you want to talk about it. I want to talk mostly about defense today. There's a lot of good defensive nuggets I want to talk about, but I know the elephant in the room is still who's going to be QB1. You lead the discussion, my friend.
First and foremost, I truly do not believe that we will see a dual quarterback system. Just don't see it. No, Brian, they have not officially named a starting quarterback to this point.
That we know of. That we know of.
I think that most likely it's very possible the players knew following the scrimmage. But you know what? We may hold on. They may hold that little nugget just a little bit longer to keep anybody from entering that portal. Here's the thing. McCord's been there longer. We've heard a lot about the hype surrounding Devin Brown. This week, a lot of people in the podcast media, in mainstream media, have really been hyping this idea that Devin Brown is going to be the starter. I've even heard it mentioned, Eric, that the true freshman could start.
No way.
There is no way. First of all, let me just put this out there. If Kleinholtz starts this season, that means they're expecting to go 8-4 or worse. I'll just tell you that right now. Not that to say that he's not a tremendous talent. You don't start as a quarterback at Ohio State. Ryan Day's system, or as a freshman, Ryan Day's system is too complex for a freshman to come in and grasp the whole thing. I just don't see it.
Don't you think Ryan Day could dumb it down for him if that was the right guy, though?
He could. But would he? I don't know. I haven't seen the guy make adjustments the way he should, Eric. I just haven't. I know he could. I have no doubt. Okay, let me get this out.
No, hold on. He's made adjustments. He's just made them not as quick as you would like. Let's go back to the 2020 Big Ten Championship game against Northwestern. He made the adjustment. He just made it a quarter too late.
But he didn't have a choice. Justin Fields was on his deathbed out there trying to throw the ball.
But he still made the adjustment, so don't say he didn't. He did.
Okay. When forced to, Ryan Day will make an adjustment. Here's the thing. I believe Ryan Day is a very, very intelligent person. I do. I think he is so set in his ways that he is not willing to adjust unless he's forced to.
We all have things that we are comfortable doing. And when you get out of that comfort zone, you get out of your box, which I think he struggles to do as a play caller. Would that be a fair statement? Okay?
Absolutely.
But to say he doesn't or he can't, I don't agree with that statement.
I said he didn't. Can't and didn't are two different things.
Robert brings up a good point. He did change defensive staff much quicker than Urban did.
Well, again, did he really have a choice after that debacle we saw?
Well, yeah, he had a choice. He could have been like, that's still my guy. But he was like, no, we're going to go a different route. And Kerry Combs was a great dude. He was a good defensive backs coach. Lousy defensive coordinator.
Eric, we've talked about this before. I don't care how good of a dude you are. That doesn't make you a great coach.
All right, so all of this is
quarterbacks.
Yeah, this is all in relation to quarterbacks. So I'm kind of glad you went down this route, because is his lack of making a decision up to this point a concern?
Yes.
Because of the track record we've seen.
It is. It absolutely is. Here's the thing. I think most people feel Kyle McCord should get the nod, at least initially. I think a lot of your fans feel that way for two reasons. One, he's been in the program longer. Two,
I'm not seeing that on Twitter.
He's got a relationship with Marvin Harrison.
Yes.
I think that is why people assume that. I think, and we've talked about this, Eric, that given the state of our tackles, we're going to need somebody who's athletic in there, possibly. However,
we've talked about that. Mm-hmm.
Yep. The fact that we haven't decided on direction, because granted, I think skill sets are similar in ways. They're also different in ways. And you've got a game less than 2 weeks away that you've got to plan for. You need to be able to plan for the guy you're going to put in there. So to me, it's a little bit concerning. Now, thankfully, it's against Indiana, who's, as we know, a god-awful team. So there is some room to, I hate this word, especially given what we saw at the tackle position, but there is some room to test things out.
Oh my gosh. No.
But you cannot go into week one without a definitive starter, a definitive leader of that offense.
I can't believe you went there. No. No.
Well, here's the thing, Eric. I think if you do start McCord and we see that either he or the offensive line is not performing up to snuff, you've got to have a very short leash. A very short leash. And
that does nothing, though, for confidence for either guy.
It does not do anything for
So why are you setting yourself up for failure to begin with? Pick somebody, throw your 100% confidence behind them, and say, this is my guy, let's go. The fact that he hasn't made this decision is not necessarily a bad thing yet, because he wants to make the right one, which means Devin Brown has performed well enough to cause him to hesitate. Because I think Ryan Day wanted to pull the trigger on McCord a long time ago.
Or they've both been completely average.
McCord was handpicked by Ryan Day over J.J. McCarthy. Do not forget that. J.J. McCarthy wanted to be a Buckeye. All you TTUN fans who watch this and or want to argue with me, look it up. He wanted to be a Buckeye, and Ryan Day chose McCord over J.J. McCarthy. I think there's a little bit of a prideful thing that says if I go with Brown over McCord, that means I made the wrong decision in picking McCord over McCarthy 3 years ago in the recruiting battle. And no one's talked about this. No one's brought it up. So that's a real thing, Chris. A real thing. Going with Brown means I failed to choose the wrong guy and I didn't develop him.
Yeah.
That's facts.
That's exactly what it means.
But if Brown comes out and plays lights out, then who cares?
And speaking of lights out, it appears we've lost Eric. So why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts in the comments. I don't know that I'll be able to. There, he's back.
I got too excited. Something happened there.
I thought you said something that was going to get us kicked off Twitter and they blacked us out.
Oh, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube might have been like, hey, Bogsy's getting too excited. Let's take this up.
Here's the thing, Eric. You know what? Sometimes he's just got to suck it up and say if he was wrong.
He doesn't have to say anything if Brown goes out there and performs well.
Yeah, you're right.
Then he doesn't have to say anything. But I think that
is Brown going to get that opportunity, or is Day's pride going to get in the way? You just said this is a pride thing.
Hey, so Donald, let me respond to your comment, Donald. Is it smoke and mirrors at this point? I don't think so.
I don't think it is either.
I really
I
don't
think they're
think
either
so.
both really good or they're both very average.
Now there could be a very real scenario right now where he knows who coming out of Saturday with the scrimmage. He knows who the starter is going to be come tomorrow, moving forward in practice. But that doesn't mean that he's going to announce that publicly because he doesn't. I don't think he sees the media again until Wednesday. I think Wednesday's the next day he answers to the media. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a starter named on Wednesday, which means he probably names him tomorrow in practice moving forward. If he doesn't name a starter on Wednesday and he still doesn't know, what does that mean, Chris?
Well, it means one of two things, Eric. It means A, we're in a lot of trouble, and or B, and this is more likely, he's afraid one of them's going to jump in the portal. It's late, but you know what? Top tier quarterbacks, if that's what they really are hard to come by. We don't know because he hasn't told us who the starter is yet.
Yeah. Alex says, when do call-ins start? Yes, the 3rd. So the day after the Indiana game was when we will have our first call-in show. Thanks for asking, Alex. By the way, welcome back. Good to see you again. And then this is Young Artie, a new one for us here on the OHIO podcast. Haven't seen Young comment before. Welcome in. Good to have you. If Kyle McCord doesn't win the job, does he transfer? Everybody's going to tell you yes, but the answer is no. I don't believe so. And here's the one thing that we haven't talked about, Chris, that this comment or question brings up. How does Ryan Day announce to the players privately, I'm going to need you both? And I think we will, because let's be honest, the offensive line is.
Now here's where I disagree with you. I truly believe that whichever one doesn't get it, whether it's this season or next, enters the transfer portal. And this is why. If you don't get the job this season, you've got Kleinholtz coming in there next year with a year under his belt, and you've got a very highly touted Aaron Nolan coming in.
Mm-hmm. Who looked awesome
on TV the other night.
Yeah. Lenny, the portal is not closed. You can jump in, but it doesn't mean you can jump out yet.
Correct.
So you can leave anytime and announce that you're going to the portal. So that is a possibility.
School at this point.
Mm-hmm. Alex, yeah. So Alex brings up what Zach Smith, former wide receiver Zach Smith, said on his show that Brown is the man. If Day says McCord, then he has lost his mind. Zach said his guys, coaches said Brown looked like a Heisman and McCord threw intercept. I've heard that. Is there something to that, Alex? Maybe. I tend to believe that Zach does have a little bit more of an insight than, say, what Chris and I do. He did coach at Ohio State. He does know some of those guys over there at the Woody Hayes, but that doesn't mean that they're going to tell him everything. I have heard that McCord looked bad in the scrimmage 2 weeks ago, that he did not look good at all. I have heard that. And remember, I went into that thinking if McCord played well in that scrimmage, he was going to be named the starter, and it didn't happen.
Right.
It didn't happen. Alex says Kinholtz is much better than Air. Ooh, we shall see. That's going to be another quarterback battle down the road, probably. It probably will. If Air decides that he's going to keep his commitment to Ohio State. That's what's crazy about recruiting now, guys, is when someone commits, it's so easy for them to decommit and go somewhere else. It's crazy. Recruiting's crazy. But Alex obviously has a lot of trust in Zach Smith. Zach won't lie. So we're not going to badmouth Zach on this program. So I'm not gonna say that's not true, but I will say this, that if where I get most of the guys who I listen to most of the insight, I think Doug Lesmerises is probably one of the best beat writers that I listen to. He's very insightful. I know that he gets a lot of interviews behind the scenes that a lot of the media members do not, because he's been there the longest. So he's one of those guys who I like to listen to myself. Yeah, you're right, Zach. He is the grandson of Earl Bruce. Yep, he absolutely is. Yep. Alex says writers blow. Some of them do. Yes, I agree. And I will not name them, but some of them are pretty bad. Timothy Parks is in. He said, go Ohio State. Nice to have you, Timothy. Welcome to the OHIO podcast. A lot of new guys have been jumping on here. Give us a thumbs up, guys, as we continue the conversation. One more offensive nugget that we need to talk about, and that is the flip-flopping of the tackles on the offensive line. So, Fryer did not look good at left tackle. I told you, my eyeballs told you all he didn't. He didn't look good in spring. He didn't look good in practice. And the coaches saw the same thing that I saw and everybody else saw. He was getting absolutely hammered by the defensive line. They flip him the right tackle, which I think is the right move, because when he came in last year off the bench, he spelled DeJuan Jones at right tackle, and he played well.
Yeah,
I think he's much more comfortable at right tackle. They move Josh Simmons. What else? Jimmy. Who knows at this point? I've heard mixed reviews on what he wants to be called. Josh Simmons to left tackle, and he's the more athletic, so it makes sense. But he's never played left tackle before. So when the coaches said we're actually experimenting, I think that's what they meant. We're experimenting at left tackle because he's not played there before. But I've heard he's looked pretty good. He is much more athletic with his footwork than what Fryer was. Alex agrees. Yeah, Jimmy's at left is good. I think that's the better move. So I actually like this move of flipping the tackles heading into the season. Chris, your thoughts?
I agree, Eric. Here's the question, and I don't know what you've heard, but I have heard that young Luke Montgomery is still pushing Josh Fryer, though.
Yeah.
And, are we still as frightened as we have been going into the season that Luke Montgomery could end up starting?
He might. There's a world where either Fryer goes down with an injury, or he just he's not as good, and he gets outperformed by Luke as a true freshman. Yeah, I noticed that too. Chris brought that up the exact same time you wrote that in, Alex. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, everybody. We just got done recording our Ohio State season preview with us, the Scarlet and Great guys.
Yeah.
And they said the same thing you and I said. Starting a freshman not named
Orlando
Pace tells you something went wrong on the offensive line. It just does. Luke might be great, man. And I think I believe Ryan Day, when he says he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's going to be a great football player at Ohio State and beyond. But as a freshman,
if the future's now, I'm concerned.
I am concerned as well. Yeah, but I am happy with this change that they've made. Yes, I am feeling better about the offensive line. All right, let's talk defense. We've talked offense, and we've talked about the offensive line and the quarterbacks for 3 weeks straight. Let's talk about the defense, man. I cannot wait for Ohio State to unleash the defensive line on Indiana. I am more excited about this. This is the most excitement I have had about a defense since the Predator was out there in 2019 wreaking havoc on defenses. And Jeffrey Okudah was out there on the outside on an island shutting down half the field on offenses. This defensive line is deep. They are talented, and don't be surprised if the rotation there is no drop off from 1 to 2.
No.
Go ahead, Chris. I don't know what you were going to say.
No, I was gonna say, we saw that in the spring game, Eric.
Yeah.
These guys are awesome.
I've got JT and Sawyer penciled in as starters on the outside, but I'm hearing Kenyatta Jackson is the real deal, and that he's basically going to be rotating in with those guys. And I don't know how you can keep Caden Curry off the field too. I don't think he gets as many snaps as those three, but the dude's got a motor, man. He absolutely has a motor. I want to see him bring back the Rushman package. We haven't seen that. 2019 was the last time we saw that. The Rushman package, when they on third down, when they basically bring in the four best defensive linemen who can get to the quarterback regardless of whether they are ends or tackles, and they let's say go get the quarterback, sack him.
I could see that. I could see them, possibly dropping JTT down to tackle and letting Kenyatta Jackson, Jack Sawyer, Mike Hall, and JT Tuimoloau just go to town.
Yeah, we're deep at tackle too. I just mentioned the four names on in my mind on the defensive end that I've been hearing a lot about. But let's talk.
Jr. Get him off the snap count. And this guy. Yeah.
Ty Hamilton is developed just like his brother did. All right, who's the starting defensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You've got Tyleik Williams, who flashed as a freshman, who's a junior now. You got Michael Hall Jr., who last year as a redshirt freshman was dominant when he played. You got Jaden McKenzie, who looks like an absolute beast as well. Those are four defensive tackles. Who am I missing? Hero Kanu. I mean, he's a tower of a human being.
What's funny, Eric, is I heard on the Fan this week. I heard him talking about
Tywone Malone. I forgot about the transfer from Ole Miss. Tywone Malone. He might even start. He might be the starter.
But I heard him talking about Mike Hall Jr. And Bobby Carpenter was talking about his sack to snap ratio, and that if he got in, just a moderate number of snaps this year, his snap, based on that ratio from last year, he'd have like 47 sacks this year.
Oh my gosh! Could you even imagine?
That's not even possible. But
it's not.
but just that's amazing to hear something like that. It's that's how productive he was when he was in the game. That's how disruptor he was.
My stepnephew, Connor Dutton, plays for the local high school here, Delaware Hayes. He is being recruited small Division II, and I think he'll end up getting a small D1 scholarship. He dominated the game Friday night. He had 4 sacks, I think, 4 or 5 sacks, 7 TFLs. He was living in the backfield. A good defensive lineman wrecks football games.
And that's what these guys do.
That is what
Michael Hall Jr.,
Chase Young, Joey Bosa, Nick they wrecked football games. JTT did it last year against Penn State. He wrecked that game. If we can get that, it doesn't have to be the same guy, but if you can get that on a consistent weekly basis where a lineman or a couple linemen are dominating the football game up front, it makes the rest of the defense's job so much easier.
I think this defensive line is good enough. It's not inconceivable that we could see 3 guys have 8 or more sacks.
You mean at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I maybe even more than that.
Double-digit sack guys.
Yeah, I think so. And it's been a long time since we've had someone that dominant, and there is a group of guys who can be that dominant.
And the thing is, we don't have one Chase Young, but we've got guys by committee out there, and maybe it's better if the same guy doesn't do it every week.
Right, because who are you going
to guard?
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. By the end of the year, if you remember, Chase was getting triple teamed, and the rest of the defensive line didn't really step up. And we just haven't had a game record like that. Now let's go to the linebackers. I'm going to make a statement. Tell me if you think I'm right or wrong in the comments section, okay? I want all of you to tell me if you think I'm right. I think this is the best linebacker room we have had since Jim Tressel was coach.
Are we talking the AJ Carpenter Schlegel type room?
Yeah. Or when Laurinaitis was here.
Laurinaitis played.
Name me a better room during the Urban Meyer era at linebacker.
I can't.
I mean, we had Shazier. I know the 2014 room was good. Okay, it was good, but I think this room's better. I do.
Yeah, I do too, because you've got two guys on that linebacking crew who I think are capable of getting 100 tackles this year. I think we've got 200 tackle guys this year at linebacker in Steel Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg.
Where was Steele at last year?
He was
in total tackles. He was close. He was close. 80s. You keep talking. Let me look that up real fast.
Yeah, I think he was like 88 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. He may have busted the 90s, but I thought he was
88. 77.
Okay.
You had the double digits, right? Mm-hmm. If you recall, he came in 2021 and saved that room.
Yes, he did.
Because he flipped over from running back to linebackers. We had nobody, and Eichenberg hadn't stepped up yet. He hadn't developed yet. I really think that this defensive scheme that Jim Knowles has fits Eichenberg's game to a T.
Does.
He plays so free.
He's that Chris Spielman type linebacker that just goes out there, plays all over the place, and gobbles up people.
Frank brings up a good point. If they let Hicks play, I'll agree. How about C.J. Hicks is probably not a starter, but that's how good they are. I think C.J. Hicks is going to have a great year.
I think he gets a lot of playing time. He may not be a starter. I think he fills in at times at one of the two key positions. I also think he gets time to jack.
Yeah.
If there is a jack, if Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles can get along long enough for there to be a jack position.
It's such an interesting dynamic, isn't it? What's going on with that position between Jim Knowles and
I don't coach
Larry Johnson? Yeah, that was his comment. I don't coach that.
That's kind of frightening to me, Eric. That sounds like a bit of dissension among the ranks there.
Yeah, which I don't care. They can butt heads all they want as long as we get the results on the field.
Yep.
Then who cares, right? So. Yeah, I'm very bullish on this linebacking room. I know that we play usually two linebackers. There will be time.
About Cody Simon, who's looked great through the spring, and then
yeah. So there's a lot of room, in my opinion, for this linebacking group to have a type of year that is just incredible. And yeah, Lenny says seems like Cody Simon has gotten a couple shout outs too. Yeah, he has. So you're right. You and Chris, again, right on the same page there, Lenny. That brings us to the defensive backfield, which has been, I would say, the thorn in Ryan Day's side when it comes to the defenses for the most part since 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. The defensive backfield was the weakness. Now, your defensive line and your defensive backs go hand in hand.
Yes.
If one plays well, it really helps out the other one, and vice versa. If the defensive line's not getting home, but the defensive backfield is locking down those receivers, then obviously, eventually, those linemen are going to get home. You can't hold on to the football forever, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about corner first. Denzel Burke has had a great offseason and a great spring. I told you, Chris, the practice I went to, he had a pick six. I saw another clip where he had another interception. And I know in fall camp that can be deceiving because the defense might jump the routes because they know the play that the offense is running because they see it every single day. They know the call. They get in a rhythm, things of that nature. However, these were things that he was not doing last year as a sophomore. He had a great freshman year, burst onto the scene, and then last year he had a sophomore slump. It is good to hear Denzel Burke is back to being a dominant quarterback.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, Eric, and I don't know whether you mentioned it to me or someone else did, I've heard rumors that this guy is actually blanketing Marvin Harrison Jr.
For the most part.
Limiting his production. And if you can do that to the guy who I think is the greatest player in college football right now,
yeah,
you can cover anybody. If you can cover Marvin Harrison Jr., you can cover anyone.
There was that one clip where Harrison Jr. stutter stepped off the line and kind of made Denzel stumble, and he kind of turned around, gave up on the play. I don't know if you saw that,
Yeah.
and a lot of people were hard on Denzel for that. Oh, here we go again, and it was one play, guys. Like, okay, come on. Like for the most part, if all the coaches have been raving about his offseason and how well he's looked in fall camp, and those coaches aren't going to blow a bunch of smoke up someone. Going to blow a bunch of smoke up our butts like that if he wasn't performing well. Walton made it happen. So Alex is really high on Walton, Coach Walton, the cornerbacks coach. On the other side of the field, you got Davison Igbinosun, who's looked really good. He is a physical guy. I think Jordan Hancock's the other guy who is going to get some play. I think those are your three cornerbacks. I think they rotate them. But I love Igbinosun's physicality, man. He is a bulldog. When I saw him in practice, man, he absolutely will not back down. He doesn't care who you are. He's going to hit you too. He's going to hit you hard.
He's not a Dion corner.
No. He welcomes that, man. He wants to absolutely take your head off. There will be a time this year, mark it down. He's going to get a targeting call because he absolutely loves contact. And the Big Ten officials are not like the SEC where they let everything go. Nope. They're going to flag him on that. But I'm okay with that. As long as it's not in a bad situation,
If you get a penalty because you're playing aggressive, but it's a controlled aggression, I'm okay with that. And I love that. When was the last time we had corners that could be physical and play a bump and run style of game?
God, it's been a while. We thought Sevyn Banks was going to be that guy.
Yeah, but he disappeared.
He didn't really. Yeah. So I am all for what we're going to see in Igbinosun, and I just feel like he's going to be great. I think our corners are going to be really good this year. Safety. Here's the thing. Frank brings it up. It's Sonny Styles. I thought Frank brought it up there. Did he? Yes, let Styles loose. You've got to find a place for Sonny Styles. You have to.
Now, where is he going to be? Is he going to be a true safety? Is he going to be at that slot?
I'm here in the slot because of.
I almost would rather see him, back there playing center field and getting there to being able to come up and attack the run and.
He's big. He's got kind of a lanky linebacker body. I think that's why they're thinking if we put him up near the line of scrimmage in the slot as the corner safety, we get him on the field. They're definitely, I'm telling you straight up right now, they're definitely playing Lathan Ransom.
And they should. He's done well, and he's earned that.
Other than the slip and fall, come on, guys. He was one of the better tacklers on the team. He was very consistent last year up until the last couple games. He had some bad plays. He took a bad angle against the team up north. All right, yes, he took a bad angle there where they scored one of the long touchdowns, and he slipped and fell against Georgia. I know that. But for the most part, he was probably one of, if not our best tackler on the team last year. And if you recall, last year, he did not start the season. Proctor started the season, got burnt on the first play of the game, got yanked, in comes Ransom, and he nearly never left the field after that. So I think he's going to be another safety that's on this field. Now, after that, I think it has been an open competition.
Do you think Carter gets it, the transfer?
Jihad Carter?
Yeah, he's looked good.
I think they're definitely going to get him on the field. I think Proctor's going to get on the field too. He's a fifth-year senior.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing, Eric. We have so much depth this year on defense.
We do
across the entire defense. We've got 4 viable guys, I think, at corner. Definitely 3, but I think 4 viable guys at corner. We have a very deep safety room. Our linebackers, yes, it might be a step down if you lose Tommy or Steele, but you've got great guys there in the waiting. And then we talked about the defensive line. I mean, this is a team that really maybe it's not a 1A and 1B, but you've got the first team and a second team that's right there on their heels ready to go.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great depth on this team, which is something that I think we've missed. Hopefully, we just have a great new aggression to go with it.
Yeah. All right. That's what I'm hearing on defense, guys. Super excited about this defense. Yeah, I think that there's a very good opportunity as top 5 defense. That's what Chris is saying. I think there's a very good opportunity they could be. I was telling everybody, I said, call me crazy. I believed then at the early part of the offseason. I believe it now. Ohio State can win a couple games this year because of their defense. They might have to.
I'll tell you right now, if we get any kind of play out of our tackles at all, and we have a top 5 defense, this is a national championship team.